I woke up today like I do every day, with the understanding that everything I know will eventually meet its end. Everything I own, every friend I have, everything around me is temporary. We are only passing by. We are the blink of an eye. To know that is to understand the essence of life. But how do we give meaning to something so short-lived? Where does our value truly reside? Objects, material, wealth, they may be tools, but they're at the surface level. To really understand the idea, the concept of being happy, we need to dig deeper. We need to look to purpose. Because without that, we have nothing. There are things in life that elevate you to another level. That when engaged in them, you don't realize that time is passing by. They motivate, they drive you. And embracing them is like walking into a dark auditorium and flipping on a light switch. Suddenly gray starts to fade away, and what's important makes itself known. And this is everything, because if we live life right, one will be all we'll ever need. It's a roller coaster ride, a burst of adrenaline, an experience to remember. That's what we are. And you have the ability to put aside anything that prevents you from capturing that, from being what your heart tells you to be, from going wherever your soul takes you. Purpose is the sun around which everything else revolves, the big bang that starts everything. It creates your universe. The most important thing you can do with your time is make the most of it. Not waste it pursuing the things that aren't even at the core of who you are. Happiness is the pinnacle, right? Can you be anything better than happy? Is there another level out there? Shouldn't that be the target, the end goal? People say it's not that black and white. It's not that simple. But it can be that simple. Find out what you're about and let it unfold in front of you. Let it take you to places that all the money in the world simply cannot. Capture your purpose and follow it into the sunset. I've spent the last year incredibly focused, building, creating. In fact, I've spent my whole life building, putting countless hours into something that I believe wholeheartedly will allow me to leave this place a little better than I found it. And I'm not unique in this way, right? We all have ambitions. We all work toward positive change in our lives. It's essential. But like everything in our world, there is more there than meets the eye. Last weekend, I decided to head over to the beach. Summer's turned to fall. I wanted to get one last trip in, kind of bring closure to an amazing summer. And I was walking around and came across a sandcastle, standing in beautiful detail, seemingly untouched by human hands after being completed, yet slowly deteriorating from the elements. And seeing this was a little disconcerting, right? You have this natural tendency to want to preserve it and the effort that went into building it. But the more and more I thought about it, the more it occurred to me that the true beauty of it all is not in the sandcastle. It's not in the towers sculpted to perfection or the meticulously carved out doors, windows, and bridges. They are only symbolic. We don't live for the final product. We live for the journey, the adventure, the joy of the process, tackling the unknown and turning it into something of beauty. That's why we get up every day. That's why landscapes, oceans, and skylines run away with our imagination. They're representative of what makes us feel alive. Sometimes it becomes extremely easy to forget that. The degree, the championship, the executive position, these things we seek, they are validation, right? But they are not life. What you do every day is life. How you turn ordinary things into extraordinary things, cherish the time you spend. There is nothing of greater importance. Sandcastles will not stand forever. The tide, the wind, a million things will assist in bringing the sand back to its original form. Just like us, its time is finite. But the joy of creating such a masterpiece can never be lost. That's why we build. It's why we create. One of the most important realizations out there, right? You could say for life in general, certainly any situation, is simply knowing that there are options. There are always options. And that's in reference to that metaphorical edge or cliff that we all come up against every now and then. Right? In one capacity or another, we've all been there. We've had enough. We're mentally, physically exhausted. The deck seems to be stacked against us, and things feel hopeless. Right? And the reason that this realization has been so valuable is because it's in these moments that the negative seems to want to overshadow the opportunity. It's all we see. Right? When you've taken loss after loss after loss, your rough stretch, the brain tends not to paint pictures of rainbows or butterflies. It does the opposite. Creates a narrative of victimhood, tragedy, acceptance. It says that this is reality, this is forever. And that's why so many people let the past define who they are. Right? Because when it's rained for 6 weeks, you begin to anticipate rain. But that's why this little rule is so crucial, right? It says, hey, listen, take a step back and remember that you were the one pulling the strings. Anytime things feel hopeless, it's because you are choosing not to look at what matters. You're seeing the bad stuff, the footsteps that brought you to your predicament. But they are not you, and they have very little to do with your ability to change. It will never be a false statement that the rest of your life starts now with the decisions you make from here on out. The trick is you have to see the ocean of opportunity and not that bucket of water that you tripped over. That will always be the temptation. And I can speak from experience. I've had projects fail. I've had investments fall apart, relationships come crashing down, all the above, just like every single person alive. But what makes or breaks us is the ability to recognize our emotional state, understand that we're being irrational. Our discomfort, panic, dreary outlook, all of that is self-induced, self-made. And we can decide to see the good. Your business idea was a disaster. fine. There are two things you can do. You can say to yourself that you suck and you can dwell on it, or you can think about the experience, the relationships you built, the lessons learned. Look, some people pay 6 figures to read about your experience in a textbook. You lived it. Maybe it didn't go exactly as planned, but you'll get to talk about that someday in an interview, right? After your next project, your next business blows up and changes the world. You can do anything, you can go anywhere, and I say that because just the thought is incredibly liberating. You're never stuck, and how amazing is that? Unless you hold out your hands and cuff yourself, limits do not exist. You have weaknesses, sure, fine, we all do, but the question is, what are your strengths? How can you better utilize what you have? You know, the wealthy, the successful, the accomplished, the people you read about, they take the down times in stride. And I'm not saying smile and whistle while things fall apart around you. What I'm saying is anything that falls apart can be rebuilt, recreated. So don't forget that, right? Stop limiting your perspective. A loss is a future gain. Ends are new beginnings. Being scared means you're trying something new. Being embarrassed means you're learning. Sure, on the surface, these things look bad, sometimes very bad, but in the long run, they make you who you are. You know, I always say people don't run marathons because it feels good. When you dig down, there's something more there. They're doing it for another reason. In the bumps in the road, the pain now, it doesn't mean you struck out or lost. It's part of the process. It turns into a feeling so beautiful, so perfect, that you can't even really articulate it. You know, when you feel bad about your situation, you are thinking about the mistakes of yesterday and not the opportunity of right now. You are thinking about what has and can go wrong and not what can go right. It doesn't matter how dire your situation, you can take something from it. So put that into practice. Next time you're feeling discouraged, and that time will come, ask yourself what you are really focusing on. Seriously. And I guarantee you it's not on how incredible your family is, how far you've come over the past 5 years, or how every single thing you need to make your dreams come true is available to you. No, you're probably thinking about the ridiculous, irrational nonsense that holds you back. Right? You will face obstacles in life and you will overcome them, but be the solution, not another obstacle in your own way. When you are against the wall or on the edge, think bigger. Remember that any situation can be undone. Any story can be rewritten. See the opportunity. Pull out your notebook and get to work on building the world as you want it to be, not as it is. The answers are all around you. Choose to see them.